Donald Trump, the President of the United States, arrived in the United Kingdom for what was described as an unprecedented second state visit. The visit was unusual not only because American presidents traditionally receive just one state visit during their time in office, but also because of the timing and political climate in both the United States and Britain. His arrival was met with both celebration and protest. The visit combined traditional royal pageantry with tense political discussions and widespread demonstrations. It became a moment that highlighted the continuing importance of the relationships between the United States and the United Kingdom, while also sparking debates over diplomacy, trade, and public opinion. A state visit is the highest form of diplomatic reception that the United Kingdom can offer. Guests are formally invited by the monarch and hosted at Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle with ceremonies that include a state banquet, military honors, and official meetings with the Prime Minister. For Donald Trump to receive such an honor twice during his presidency was highly unusual. The first visit had already been considered controversial due to his polarizing reputation at home and abroad. The second visit therefore carried particular weight. It reinforced the significance of the so-called special relationships between Britain and America, a phrase that refers to close ties in military cooperation, intelligence sharing, trade links, and cultural connections. However, Trump's presidency tested the meaning of that phrase, as disagreements over NATO, climate policy, and Brexit created tensions. Trump's arrival was marked by a carefully choreographed sequence of events. His plane landed at London's Stansted Airport, where he was greeted by the U.S. Ambassador Woody Johnson and representatives of the British government. He was accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump, members of his family, and senior aides. Television cameras broadcast live images of the president ascending the aircraft steps, waving to officials, and entering his motorcade. Helicopters and convoys transported him to central London under heavy security. Thousands of police officers were deployed across the city to manage both ceremonial events and large-scale protests. The scale of the operation demonstrated the sensitivity and significance of the visit. At Buckingham Palace, Trump was given a ceremonial welcome by Queen Elizabeth II. The Guard of Honor was mounted by the Household Division, and both the American and British national anthems were played. The president inspected the Guard, symbolizing respect for the host nation. He and the First Lady were welcomed by the Queen and senior members of the royal family, including Prince Charles. That evening, a state banquet was held in the palace ballroom, featuring gold-plated cutlery, fine china, and speeches from both the monarch and the president. Such pageantry highlighted Britain's royal traditions while serving as a stage for diplomacy. For the Trump family, it was an opportunity to project prestige and respectability. For the monarchy, it was a chance to showcase its role as a central player in the nation's international relations. The visit was not merely ceremonial. It carried significant political implications. Trump met with the British Prime Minister at 10 Downing Street, as well as with other senior political figures. The timing was particularly important, as the UK was still struggling with the aftermath of the Brexit referendum and was in a state of political uncertainty. Trump openly supported Brexit, encouraging Britain to take a strong negotiating stance with the European Union. He suggested that a US-UK trade deal could be arranged quickly after Brexit, though critics warned that such a deal might include controversial demands such as changes to food standards, agricultural concessions, and potential access to the National Health Service market. Trump also made comments about specific British politicians, praising some and criticizing others, which was seen by many as interference in domestic politics. Public reaction to the visit was strongly divided, and nowhere was this more visible than in the protests that filled London's streets. Tens of thousands of people gathered in central areas, carrying banners, chanting slogans, and voicing opposition to Trump's policies on immigration, climate change, and foreign affairs. A particularly symbolic feature of the protests was the return of the Trump Baby Blimp, an inflatable balloon depicting the president as an angry infant in a diaper. This blimp had become an icon of resistance during his first visit and reappeared as a centerpiece of the demonstrations. Although the protests were largely peaceful, There were moments of tension between demonstrators and Trump supporters. The sheer size of the protests reflected Trump's deep unpopularity among many in Britain. The British and international media covered the visit extensively, offering sharply contrasting perspectives. Tabloid newspapers highlighted glamorous images of Melania Trump and a lavish banquet, while broadsheet newspapers focused on the political disputes and the mass protests. Public opinion polling suggested that a majority of Britons disapproved of Trump's leadership and policies, though a smaller but vocal segment admired his bluntness and his support for Brexit. For some, the visit was a necessary reinforcement of an essential alliance. For others, it was an embarrassment that Britain would extend such honor to such a controversial leader. Part of what made the visit unique was Trump's personality. Unlike most American presidents, he relished controversy and did not shy away from commenting directly on British politics. During press conferences, he praised Brexit advocates and criticized opponents, a breach of the traditional diplomatic norm that foreign leaders avoid speaking about domestic politics in their host countries. His approach divided opinion. Supporters argued that he was refreshingly honest, while critics said he was rude and disrespectful. His unpredictability ensured that every appearance carried the potential for headlines. The visit also had important implications for international relations. With Britain preparing to leave the European Union, its leaders sought to secure trade agreements beyond Europe. The United States was a natural partner, but Trump's administration made it clear that any deal would come with conditions. Questions about food safety, pharmaceuticals, and healthcare access became central to the debate. At the same time, Trump used the visit to reaffirm NATO cooperation and to highlight defense ties. The UK and the US maintained close military and intelligence partnerships, and discussions during the visit included issues such as Iran, counterterrorism, and global security. Compared with other American presidents' visits, Trump's trips stood out. Leaders such as John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and Barack Obama each visited the UK, but only once. Obama's state visit in 2011 was marked by public enthusiasm, while Reagan's speeches celebrated Cold War unity. Trump's visits, in contrast, became moments of protest as much as celebration. This contrast reflected the changing nature of international diplomacy in an era of populism and social media, when leaders could inspire admiration and anger in equal measure. As the second visit concluded, analysts debated its legacy. On one hand, it reinforced the enduring strength of the US-UK alliance. The royal ceremonies and political meetings underscored the mutual importance of the relationship. On the other hand, the protests, political disputes, and critical media coverage suggested that Trump's presence created as much division as unity. Many predicted that the visit would be remembered less for the banquet speeches and more for the symbolic protests and the Trump Baby Blimp. Ultimately, the visit illustrated the complexity of modern diplomacy. It showed that alliances between nations are maintained not just by leaders, but also by public opinion, media narratives, and cultural symbolism. It highlighted how Trump's presidency challenged norms and forced other nations to adapt to a new style of politics. For Britain, it was a balancing act, honoring an important ally while managing widespread domestic opposition. For the United States, it was an opportunity to project strength and seek new opportunities in a post-Brexit world. Donald Trump's unprecedented second state visit to the United Kingdom was a combination of grandeur, politics, and protest. It brought together royal pageantry, high-stakes diplomacy, and mass demonstrations in a way rarely seen in modern times. It reinforced the depth of the US-UK relationship while also exposing its tensions. It became a symbol of how personal style, public opinion, and global politics intersect in the 21st century. For historians, the visit will be remembered as an extraordinary moment that reflected both the power and the controversy of Trump's presidency, as well as the challenges facing Britain at a moment of national transformation.